Oh, don't stimulate my brain.
Hi guys, welcome to Truth Talkin Thursday. This is Jim. I'm Jane. I've had an interesting last couple of weeks, and it's made me think a lot about professionalism, what it is, how you present yourself as a professional, how you behave as a professional, maybe even what people expect from a professional. Is it something along the lines of expectations as far as a degree or experience, or how do you view a professional? When you think of somebody that you know of that is considered a professional or considers themselves as a professional, what do you think of? How does that person, how do you perceive that person to be?
Well, the first thing I would look for is information and knowledge. I mean, I would want to know that the guy's knowledgeable. Your level of professionalism and your appearance would create a feeling of a prospective buyer for your product. You would want them to know that you're serious about what you're doing.
So it still holds true then that when you go somewhere to obtain a service or look for a service, the front man is who is representing that product, service, or business. Right. I.e., an example, when you go to McDonald's,
right,
you expect to hear a certain thing when you pull up to the drive-through window.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to McDonald's. May I help you? May
Yep.
I take your order, please?
Actually, yeah, you're right, and that's to me is what it is. It's all about. And as a consumer, I need to feel like they have my best interest in mind. I want to have an instant feeling that they care about me being there, and that I'm about to spend some money in their place,
okay,
or possibly.
So how do they do that?
Oh,
how would somebody win you over?
Polite certainly would go a long ways.
Polite. What is polite? Please and thank you, or more?
Well, no, just I mean, tone of voice. How is it? The basics of communication really are what? I mean, you tone of voice, body language, facial expressions, demeanor, like how you present yourself.
Let's take a different aspect of it. I understand that courteous, someone who is courteous
Mm-hmm.
can present themselves as a professional.
Yeah.
How about time? If you, in my head, I was thinking of two different scenarios. One, at the doctor's office.
Mm-hmm.
I hardly ever go to the doctor. I'm blessed with good health and very rarely, but I do remember, especially when the children were small, having doctor's appointments and sitting there for sometimes an hour or more,
Mm-hmm.
waiting when I had an appointment. And I do not wait well.
Right.
I did not like that. But because of the professional nature of the service, I knew that's the way it was, and there's no point in worrying about it. I couldn't really get up and walk out. That wasn't an option. And I do understand, emergency room waits and things like that. There are people with emergencies. You have to wait your turn. I get that.
Yeah.
Also, just today, I got a flat tire on my car, and I took it to a service center, and A++ for service at that place. I was beyond impressed. When I walked in, I probably waited for 2 minutes to have somebody say, "May I help you?" I told them, "I hope you can. I got a flat tire." And they immediately came outside with me, assessed the situation, went to look for a used tire, and got me in. And within, I would say, an hour and a half, my car was ready to be picked up. They had checked the air in all the tires, the tire was changed, and I was paid my bill and on my way. Now, to me, that's professional service. They were kind, they were courteous.
That to me is professionalism. With the doctor's office, the difference between that and an emergency is you just go in and you sit down and you wait your turn. You're right. There is no appointment made. But in a doctor's office, if you've got to wait habitually, time after time after time, and it's 15 minutes, 20 minutes, that's important time to me too. Mm-hmm. And that I don't think is very professional.
No. And I was going to ask you, now, Jim, you have experience as a counselor.
Mm-hmm.
So when you in the past or present, when you set a time to meet with somebody, whether personally, whether on a Zoom call, whether on some kind of a telephone call or whatever, mm-hmm. when you do that, when you set aside that time, now, does that person call you or do you call that person?
I call them.
Now, Do you expect them to be there and available?
Absolutely.
Okay, and if they are not, what do you do?
15 minutes and I'm done.
Okay. And if they contact you at 20 minutes?
I won't answer the phone.
So you
Because
normally do telephone calls?
But not because I'm being mean and rude, but because the likelihood is I'm on to something else. It's respect for the client. That's what that is.
Well,
It's
and for the therapist too.
But their time is important. Their time is just as important as mine.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't have any clients, I don't have any practice.
Yes. Yes.
So I would, as a professional, and I consider myself to be a professional, as a professional in the business, I have to respect the fact that their time is just as important as mine. And would I, unless the only caveat to that, the only time that I would not, that I might be late for an appointment is if there was somebody in a crisis mode. Reasons for me to cancel it, they'd have to be really, really important and dire for me to call somebody up and say I can't talk to you right now.
Mm-hmm.
So are there reasons? Sure there are, but there aren't many. And
Yeah.
I think any therapists or any counselors, coaches that do that just because they're going to be late for their tee off time they're in the wrong business.
I think in a nutshell, we started off this conversation talking about professionalism and what it is and how you establish yourself as a professional. And I think this comes down to what we've talked about before, about the golden rule as well. You treat other people how you'd like to be treated yourself. And I think that there are many different levels of professionalism. Like, I would say my daughter is a professional in her job, but she does not share my attitude that, well, you're not that sick, go to work anyway. Like, there are times when she's like, Mom, I'm sick.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you've guilted me into coming to work. Well, that's not okay for me to do. No. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, yes. That's not professional on my part to do.
No.
So there is a line somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not sure where that is. But I think that there are many different levels of professionalism. And I think that often in today's society, I think we find ourselves associating with professionals that view things as we do.
How much do you trust yourself? How much do you trust your instincts and your own self?
Are you asking me that?
Yeah.
I trust myself a lot more than I ever have. I feel like I know what's important to me, and it's fine for me to behave in the way I think is professional and to expect others to behave in that way as well. And it's fine for me to express displeasure at unprofessionalism if I feel that it's warranted or necessary.
That's the key.
Mm-hmm.
That's the key. The key is do I feel like I'm being scammed here?
Mm-hmm.
And if I do, then I'm going to mention something about that.
Or remove myself from the situation.
Well, the hardest part of that is of course, you can't make that judgment easily, only because your own personal belief systems get mucked in there. Well, if I was sick, I'd go to work. So if I would go to work, you're going to work. Mm-hmm. That's the unfair part of it.
Yes.
You can't make that decision. Am I
Correct.
being had here or
Correct.
not being had here? I have to be certain of my own professionalism and where that line is, and I got to make sure that I don't judge other people by it.
Right.
Biggest thing around professionalism for me is my goal is to always make sure whoever my client is, and that's if I'm providing the service or doing whatever, that they feel important, they feel heard.
Heard. Yep.
And you attend to the questions so you have to be prepared. You have to know your stuff. And if you can do that, connect with them the first time around, the likelihood is you'll see them again as a client.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. There you have it. There's a professional.
There you go.
I like that. I think that makes a lot of sense to me. So, hey, if you've got any thoughts about professionalism, I would love to hear them. I think that of late I've been trying to establish myself as a professional as well in with the book that I wrote on my story, as well as the accountability program that kind of goes along with that book. That kind of came out of the passion of my experience, and so I'm interested in all those things as well. So let us know.
Yes.
And have a great rest of your week.
Thanks for coming by.